Hello, and thank you for joining today. This is Oakville Matters, thanks to Kojiko TV, as we know it, your TV. This is our chance to talk about the things that matter most to Oakville. And I know that one of the things that matters the most to Oakville is keeping up with the community's needs. And the fancy word for that is infrastructure, but we've got big and small projects on the go for you. And today, we're joined by Councillors Beth Robertson and Pavan Palmer, and our new Commissioner of Public Works. That's the short title I've invented for her, Ms. Phoebe Fu. And welcome to all three of you. Pavan, what's the biggest thing we're going to do for our viewers and our residents?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I could be smiling any harder right now. I am so happy that our council has taken this next step in ensuring that the North Park Community Center, the 16-mile sports complex community center, will be shovel ready as soon as possible so that we have opportunities from our provincial and federal colleagues for funding.
Yes, and this will be the completion of one community center for each of the 7 wards. When I took office 15 years ago, we had 3, and so we're finally finishing the work.
Yes. I mean, it's been a long awaited addition to our community, and now with the trends of increased recreation activity and potential funding opportunities, it's important that we're focused on making this shovel ready. And I think it's also been a #1 issue for residents north of Dundas. Right now, the new communities of Oakville, north of Dundas, travel to Iroquois Ridge Community Center, River Oaks, or Glen Abbey, and that puts pressure on those facilities as well. And our community centers across the town are for every single resident in Oakville. So this will definitely be a win for all of us. And with the growth plan mandated by the province, it's so important for residents to see new infrastructure to support the growth that they're seeing in their neighborhoods. So
Yeah,
great news.
if only the province would keep up with its end of the deal. You would think that a province that tells you have to grow would manage to produce the schools for the kids that move in.
Right. Well, at least now they'll
But
have
we're not here to complain and whine and moan, right? Now, Beth, on our list of things that council approved to push forward, what was your favorite item?
My favorite item has to do with June and upcoming and our Pride celebrations by putting down crosswalks in each of our BIAs to celebrate what diversity means, what inclusion means in our community. So we will have crosswalks that recognize people of color, recognize the diversity of the LGBTQ community, and that makes me so happy.
Now I'm not telling a secret when I say you were a high school teacher, right?
I was a high school teacher
and
for 32 years, and I also taught in Halton Catholic Board, which right now has gone through huge controversy in terms of denying flags in each of the schools, and now watching each of the schools reach out in their own way to celebrate and show that diversity inclusion is important at the school level, no matter what a decision a trustee makes.
Yeah. Now, but I wanted you to maybe comment on the fact that this Pride crosswalk is a student idea. It came to us from our high school students.
It did, and that hasn't been hey, this just happened since the whole thing with the school board. This was done long before, and I would say over the last couple of years, you've had requests come in to say, what can we do? Burlington's had a sidewalk. When are we going to start, showing? And I think that the fact that we took each of our major business districts to show it is an honor to the students across Oakville and, in all the wards.
The nicest thing about it is the business districts, the business improvement associations, the BIAs, for each of our our heritage downtowns, the Bronte, the Kerr, and the Oakville, they all asked for it because they want. I was very proud of them. They said they want to make sure that people feel included in their business districts, and so I thought that was very charming. Um, and another reason on my mind, one of the reasons I was behind it, got put my weight behind it was we've had some very distressing events of racism and bullying of a prejudicial nature against the LGBTQ folks, but also racism in our high schools, student on student, and the students have been reaching out to us. Uh, uh, I think they were originally a little frustrated by not getting anywhere at their schools, and so they turned to the mayor and to the counselors. And so we're trying to reassure the kids that they do have a place in our community. Um, now, Commissioner Fu, tell us a little bit about you. I'm interested in what kind of startle factor you might have had coming to Oakville from Markham and getting a load. You walk in, Commissioner Fu's brand new. She walks in and she's got this activist council saying, "Oh yeah, we want all this stuff built," and you're our builder. So tell us a little bit about your reaction.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for calling me the Public Works Commissioner. It's community infrastructure. So you're right. It's all the infrastructure that is across the town that's under my portfolio. Now, when I was doing similar work in Markham, and one of the, of course, the biggest difference is I first recognized the difference between the two-tier municipality. We had water and wastewater and waste in Markham, but here that is a Halton region responsibility. And so really I was very excited to focus on more of the community-based infrastructure that really, the customer and our resident could feel as we put in from whether it's the crosswalk that Councillor Robertson just mentioned, to traffic calming measures, to number of active transportation pieces that we're putting in. So I actually do feel that within my commission, there's all these different opportunities. I just want to highlight, though, that Rainbow Crosswalk did open my eyes. I met with a student as well as a teacher from the GSAs, as they call it, the Gender Sexual Alliances in the groups. So each of the school has a GSA, and they meet at inter-GSA meetings. And the student was the person who did all the research, all the background in terms of what type of flags, what kind of designs. And I find that the engagement was very, very refreshing. Further, I also connected them to our staff related to doing our overall diversity action plan. So inclusion or diversity action plan. So there could be other opportunities for inclusivity and celebrating diversity, not just from a physical infrastructure, but there could be other ways or forms of ways of representation that could happen as well. So I actually feel quite excited to be involved in this particular project among many other transportation projects that my staff looks after.
Yeah, you got the better deal here. So here in Halton, the local community infrastructure person, and each local municipality gives you a different title. And at the upper level, they do call it Public Works. Poor Commissioner Farr, the regional commissioner of Public Works, it's really vital stuff, big roads and big pipes. But those are not the things that the average person thinks about unless they break or don't work. But you get the fun stuff.
I get the local people could feel and touch it. They walk on it. They have lots of good opinion about it. So I think that part of the community engagement with our Oakville residents has been very engaging, and it's also welcomed.
Oh, I tell you, there's no community in the country with as much community engagement as Oakville has. We have residents associations. I mean, there must be, there's more than a dozen residents associations in our town. And I know many places of our size that don't have any. And So they're on us all the time.
Yes.
Uh, they ride us like a pony.
Phoebe, one of the things with the crosswalks from your end that I hear a lot is, will they be slippery? Will the paint be slippery? And so this is a good time for you to be able to tell them what we're using in terms of that engineering piece that will keep them safe.
So in typical crosswalks, say the black and white ones as you see, they're called durable paintings. They're not just some paint you get from Home Depot and you paint it on. So they're actually durable painting that has little pebbles of sand almost, but they're not sand, but give it a little bit of a texture. So we're putting in durable paintings for the rainbow crosswalks. Not only that, they don't fade every year. They will last for the next 4 to 5 years from a longevity perspective, and also managing our assets. So we only have to go back every 4 years. There's some minor maintenance that typically will be required if there's major tire marks. Sometimes you see screeching tires over, but that's something our staff do on a regular basis. But it will be safe in a sense that it's not going to be slippery. It will be on the existing pavement. We'll also prep the pavement as well. We don't just paint it right on. They will sort of put it to sand it down a bit, kind of like when you paint your house, you want to sand it a bit, have a good surface, put it on, and then the paint itself has a little bit of pebbles in it. That's the best way to describe it.
And can you describe to them our color choices and how we're working with that?
Of course, and kudos goes again to the student that I met. She did quite a bit of research, and we did participate and talk to her about the different styles and the different designs. So the design that we have adopted is named Philadelphia Pride Flag. But what's different is that it still has the rainbow spectrum, and we added a brown. Not we added, sorry. The design has a brown and a black color stripes. And that really covers not only to our 2S LGBTQ, as they call themselves, because they do add letters, yes. and they were very kind to teach me all that. And as well as it represents the Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So the design that we have chosen really shows the diversity that we're trying to celebrate. And that design is going to be hard to describe, but longitudinal. So it's almost when you're walking down the crosswalk is walking in the same line as you with you. And that's the design we have chosen for all 3 locations.
That's good. Thank you.
I think that the rainbow crosswalks are an amazing visual demonstration of our town's commitment to improve diversity and inclusion for residents in the LGBTQS plus community and communities of color. And I think we can all agree that while our town has made progress in recognizing and addressing discrimination, we know there is more work to do, and we continue our dedication and commitment to this important work. So thank you for the technical aspect of that, Commissioner. It was definitely interesting to learn about.
Just a little side note, sorry to interject. We're also putting decals on our fleet vehicles.
Oh,
to
neat.
celebrate the month. Yes. So
beautiful.
So we'll be on our fire trucks and our municipal enforcement staff. So this fleet that's out around town in June, you'll see a sticker that's on their vehicles to celebrate Pride Month as well.
Well, Oakville councils have always cared about equity, diversity, and inclusion, but this council really, I feel like gigantic strides are being made under this council, and and I congratulate all members of council for that. Now, in addition to North Park and a rainbow crosswalk, council's got quite a menu of things moving forward. I'm gonna rhyme off the list, and then you can jump in on any of these that you like. There's what I'm calling the Reservoir Park, a new skateboard park, pickleball courts are coming, automated speed enforcement units are coming. Council has prioritized pedestrian crossovers to try to improve safe crossing of busy streets. And council has ordered more flashing radar-driven speed signs. That's to give you a chance to train yourself to follow the speed limit so that one of the automated speed enforcement units doesn't ding you with an expensive ticket. ASE is it's the new Latin for radar, photo radar, except that it's mounted and on the street rather than held by a cop, and it automatically sends a ticket. And uh, and there's more to come. So, what do you think, counselors? We've ordered 4 of these photo radar automated units, and in talking to various members of council, I've gotten the impression that you'd be happier if we ordered 8, or any number bigger than 4. What's your feedback on that?
4 is a starting number for sure, and the size that we're getting. I like the fact that they are movable. They won't stay in the same place, so people avoid only 4 places in Oakville, and other places get ignored. So I think the fact that they will move around, but the reality is, given the fact that every ward gets complaints about speeding, it will take more at some point.
Well, yeah, and council's acted on speeding in another way, which is we're headed for a 40-kilometer speed limit on residential streets, and soon. I want to tell you a quick funny story, well, amusing story from I mentioned how many residents associations we have, and I meet with their leaders every month, and we call it the Community Leaders Roundtable. So I told them about the photo radar, the automated photo radar, and one of them said, "Oh, well, you better announce where they're going to be, so that people know, so that they can slow down, because we don't want they'll be angry if they get a ticket." And so I said, "Well, it's a unique feature of this provincial system that it's probably going to cost us money to give a ticket, because it costs so much to put stuff in, and we get so little back from the fine. The province keeps most of it." I said it'd be a big advantage if we didn't give any tickets, and all we had to do was tell you it's there, and you would slow down. It would save us money, and it would save you money.
Yeah, and I'm sure we could prototype some that way. Yeah.
Remember,
I
one of
think
our
both of these,
members of council
these
wants to
additions
have one of those cutouts of a police officer. We should have a cutout of one of the photo radar.
Yeah.
We'll have to tell Alan that he might get on board.
Yeah.
I
Bill.
think both of these items are a great step in the right direction. I mean, we've been hearing complaints forever about speeding. In my ward, I experience a lot. We have a lot of young children and a lot of collector roads and minor arterial roads that are often used for speeding. So this is going to be great, and I think the reduction to 40 kilometers on residential roads, it's going to take a little bit of time to implement, but it's definitely welcomed by our residents.
Can I float another idea past the 3 of you?
Sure.
During this past winter, with the pandemic restrictions on us, one of the few things that kids and families could do was to go ice skating at our refrigerated outdoor rink in Trafalgar Park. And it was always booked, and it was hard to get in. And it made me realize that we probably need one. We probably need 6 more. We probably need
Yes.
one. Let's start with you, Beth. Are you saying yes or no to that for your ward?
Oh, 100. We don't have any rinks in our ward, so we have no indoor rinks. And we only had a single outdoor non-refrigerated rink in the whole ward. So I've had lots of requests for a refrigerated rink, because the non-refrigerated with our winters anymore, they're tough to keep up and to make them worthwhile. So I think the cost of them is way more than I think the average resident understands. They're about $235,000, I think, for a single ice refrigerated rink. But I think that in comparison to building full indoor facilities, a great bang for the buck. So,
And we're reviewing our 10-year capital plan, our 10-year plan for infrastructure. And, council's going to be settling that as part of the budget this year. And it's overdue. Um, uh, Councillor Palmer, are you ready to sign up for one for Ward 7?
Oh yeah, it will be a hit. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many parents I know that were literally by their computers at 8:59, ready to book their spot for the Oakville Trafalgar Community Center. So yes, it will definitely be welcomed. And I agree with Beth's comments on the maintenance, because really depending on what time of day you go, you never know what the status of the rink is going to be. So it's I think that if we could get more than one, that would be great. I mean, across town, but even if we just got one more that's closer to North Oakville, it would definitely be beneficial.
Well, I think it's certainly something that we ought to be phasing them across the 10-year capital plans when we get there. Um, I never forget that our goal is to be Canada's most livable town, and I know from our residents that having these things in their town is part of their definition of what makes the place livable and attractive.
Yeah, and we have so little indoor rink time for shinny, for people just to pick up an hour with friends and just go play shinny. So the more, if we had outdoors, maybe a couple of them could be dedicated, or certain hours would be dedicated to shinny versus public skating. And I think that fills a big need. I know at Etobicoke, they've long had even their hockey clubs use outdoor rink for practices.
Yeah.
So it's, so at 6 o'clock in the morning, people will have practice on an outdoor rink.
My kids and I played shinny. The last time we played shinny must have been 20 years ago. On the Ronnie Creek, where the big the creek turns, and there's this giant wet area with the
The marsh, yep.
marsh. So that one winter, that froze over so perfect that it was the best place to go play shinny.
Mhm.
And we played shinny there like all day. Uh, uh, Me and my friends and our kids, and then three teenagers showed up. Three bigger boys showed up, and they were like, rep players. They were really good, and they came over and asked if we wanted to let them join the shinny with the little boys, the 8-year-olds that we were doing, and they played down to the 8-year-olds and showed them tricks and stuff. It was magical,
Yeah.
and it's too bad that the winters, I guess, climate change has robbed us of that experience. So. The other thing we need to be thinking about as we move forward in our capital planning is what do we need to help mitigate climate change? Uh, so I hope that each of you will put your thinking caps on, and I know, Commissioner Fu, that you'll probably have some professional ideas for us. And for you who's watching us, we like to hear from you too on that. If you have infrastructure ideas for Oakville, you can write to your counselor, or you can write to me and I'll share it with your counselor. My email is really easy to remember. It's mayor@oakville.ca. I hope that's the easiest email in the world. And I know that Commissioner Fu would be glad to hear from you too. You just put a dot between her first and last name and make it @oakville.ca, and there you are. And actually it's the same for the counselors. So just put a dot in the middle and add @oakville.ca, and you're practically done. Uh, what else do you see in terms of the town's needs, Commissioner? You've had a you're obviously a person who checks things out. So
Yes.
what's your sense of where we're at and what our biggest needs are?
I think one of the in many aspects of what we talked about for the community is transportation related. So whether and we talked quite a bit on recreational needs, and I hear you regarding that. In my portfolio, I think the transportation need for the town is very important to get people where they want to go, give them the opportunity to use different modes of transportation. For the 10-year capital plan, we really need to look at that long range plan about, not just building roads and not just looking at the safety of the community, but it's about providing that infrastructure that is safe, because that takes a long time sometimes to rebuild. Whether it's putting in more connections for bikes, more safe sidewalks, whether it's on both sides or one side, there's all these different debates that's out there. And I think for families to travel from one location to another, we want them to provide them opportunities, not only to slow down on the roads, but to use the other modes as well. And I think when we look in the long term, we need to look at that for these connectivities and provide for all modes of travel for also every age group, not just the avid bikers, but the recreational bikers. You know, those are the type of things we really need to look at. Even at a trail system, whether we want to look at the opportunity for different type of trail systems, passive, active, paved, not paved, all these are different debates. With COVID, as you all know, we're all stuck at home. Everybody hit the trails because that's really the only place you could go. So there's a lot of questions about, you know, the type of trails we provide and what kind of, you know, can it be all season around? These are all different, I think, considerations we need to ask ourselves. What type of amenities, whether it's skating rinks versus trails versus safe roads, these are all part of the overall community to move people around and stay active and enjoy Oakville is the best place to live. So that's sort of how I see the long range plan to go, to really fostering that moving people mobility side of providing mobility to our residents.
Well, I know that is important to our residents, and actually this council, well, going back when I became mayor, council voted to really double down on transit, and we doubled our transit fleet. We
Yes.
doubled our transit routes, and so remains very important to council to encourage the use of transit. And maybe we should come back on one of our future shows and talk about our plans for the future of our transit system, including ride-hailing buses.
Yes, on
other
demand we
interesting
do.
ideas.
And we're electrification of our fleet. So everything also tied to the climate action plan
Yeah.
and greening our small fleet too. So there's a lot to talk about even on climate action as well.
Well, I wish we had more time, but we've just run out. Thanks for being here, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.